In this first show of 2022, we look back at what we liked about 2021, look forward to 2022 with some rumors for 2023. I talk about the naked truth of Instagram, and we look at some photos we took over the last little bit on this week's iPhoneography podcast.
It's Monday, January 3rd, 2022. It's hard to believe it's here already. And this is the iPhoneography podcast, episode 54. So my name is Greg McMillan, and welcome to the new year. We've got hopefully some exciting things to bring you this year. And this year, we'll start off with my esteemed co-host, Dave Podner. Hello, Dave.
Greg, how's it going? Happy New Year, and Happy New Year to everyone out there.
Yes, Happy New Year. I don't know about you, but I barely made it to midnight on New Year's Eve, but I had to work that day. So I was up since 5 o'clock that morning, but
we were close to not making it. Even though it was rainy here. I know we've talked about the weather, but even though it was rainy, people still were setting off fireworks.
Oh yeah.
So that of course woke the dogs up.
Oh yes, of course. You know, I was amazed we didn't hear any in our neighborhood because there's always this one place that behind us that has it. And you know, I don't mind fireworks, but I hate it because the dog, it just gets her all petrified.
But see, luckily, Charlie, the dog who belled our Westie, no reaction.
Literally I think you mentioned this before. Yeah. Yes,
Charlie. At all. No, Charlie. It doesn't scare him. That's the thing. It really doesn't scare him. He goes into protective mode.
Oh,
so he'll run to the top of our steps because we're in a split level. If he's downstairs, he'll run to the top of the steps, bark at the front door, like someone's there, like he's protecting us. He's not scared. I've had a dog that was scared. My dog, when growing up, he was petrified. We actually had to have a Ativan in the house to give him that the vet gave us around thunderstorms and like 4th of July because he was that petrified of loud noises.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. And but yeah, Charlie, no, the cats don't care.
Yeah, the cats, they don't care, but
the noise goes off. The Charlie barking throws them off more than the fireworks.
Yeah. Well, you know, but hey, it's here, and it's hard to believe that it's the 3rd already. I mean, this year is probably going to fly by just as quick as any year. So, so speaking of year, we're going to start off by saying what the one thing was that was kind of like the highlight of our year for 2021. And then we'll go real quick with what we hope for in the iPhoneography space for 2022. So, you know, what would you say? I mean, I think I might know, but what would you say is your highlight of the year for 2021?
Let me narrow it down a little bit more and narrow it down to night mode. The better low light ability. Not just night mode, the fact that coming from a 10 to, you know, the 13 Pro and Ruth from the 7 Plus to her 13, the fact that we can take shots at night, you know, the night sky shots, which of course are amazing and mind blowing, but even indoor shots, you know, they're so much better now. And they're even to the point where there were shots that I took that I thought were going to be night mode that were just regular shots. Because
the sensor's that much better.
The sensor's that much better and bigger. It was able to just take it without having to worry about night mode, or even, you know, like try and take pictures of the dogs and the cats inside and normal, you know, nighttime ambient light, not what we have in this little room, but like say normal light where it's light enough for your eyes, but in normal, especially a normal smartphone, you would need a flash or it'd be grainy and this thing's picking it up without having to use a flash, which we know if you're trying to take a picture of, you know, a candid photo, either of pets or small humans or even larger humans, having that flash throws you off. it washes out the skin, makes the harsh shadows, and all of a sudden you get a reaction because there's a bright light versus being able to either do night mode or just the better lower sensing, take that photo and just have it turn out and have the colors be pretty close to natural when it's dark.
Yeah. So I think that's a testament of not just the sensors and the larger pixels and all that stuff, but I mean, the processing power and even the algorithms that they've put into these things. So, I mean, it's, I could definitely see how that could be a highlight. And I've seen some of your night shots that you've taken, and some of them, I think there was one of, I believe it was, maybe it was Leo on the couch. And I thought it was a night photo. And you said it didn't use night mode for that shot. So, I mean, yeah, that's crazy. So, I mean, when I said, I think I know what it is, I thought you were going to say the phone itself, which I think, that's big in and of itself, but narrowing it down to night mode, I mean, that's pretty cool. I've got night mode for the first time in the 12 Pro Max from last year. So, I mean, I know what you're getting at, because when I first used it, I was just totally amazed, and it's so much better, the 13. So that's pretty cool. What about what you're kind of looking forward to for this year? Is there anything that kind of stands out in your mind that you're hopeful for?
I would say nothing that really stands out. Because in terms of this camera, the one thing I don't like, and right now I don't think there's a way around it for Apple right now until they refine it, is I'm getting used to take the photo, wait 3 or 4 seconds for it to develop or to process, and then get the really sharp photo I was waiting for. Because if you take the photo and you look at it immediately, of course, outside of like night mode where you let it go for, 5, 10, 15, 30 seconds. But if you just take a normal photo, a lot of times it's like, oh, it didn't look, oh, now it looks good.
Yeah.
I'm hoping
it has to like res in, as they call it, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So I know that's something with the computational photography, it's hard to get around because of how much computation's going on. I'm hoping that as we get more dot releases, dot 2, dot 3, dot 4, blah, 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 it gets quicker because they're able to make the code more efficient.
Yeah.
They can get feedback, and they can get, after a few tens of millions of people get their hands and start taking photos, they can use that feedback and say, okay, we can cut this. And all of a sudden you're cutting microseconds, but because there's so many steps, all of a sudden that 3 seconds turns into a second and a half, or they can do something.
It's funny how that could make a big difference. Mm-hmm. In the time you're waiting for a photo to res in on the screen, that half that time makes a big difference.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, I know Apple in the past have done things like, oh, we're going to start rendering before you do what you're going to do, because there's only 5 different ways you can go. So we'll start working on all 5. And the minute you do it, we'll just hop on halfway through. So it seems a lot quicker. Yeah. That's how sometimes they can get the animation better, because they're already starting before you. They're already starting the computational part. So I'm hoping they can get, they try, hopefully, and this is sheer guess on my part, that they were working on stability first, and now they're going to work on speed. It's like, okay, we're solid. What can we choose to make this a quicker process? And once it's quicker, but keep it as solid as it is. Because that's still, that was a big complaint a lot of people had with the early Pixel phones. Like for portrait mode, they did a great job, especially with one camera, but you had to take the camera, take the photo, and wait 5 or 6 seconds. So I'm hoping Apple can use the incredible power that's in this thing. I'm pretty sure that this phone has more processing power than the computer I'm talking to you on right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
So,
excuse me.
So hopefully they can, use everything going on, and then just make it a lot tighter, a lot more efficient, but still keep it solid.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a pretty good thing to look forward to. And I think that would be a big benefit to everybody. So for me, for 2021, I think the highlight of my year was probably getting that book deal and writing the book. I know it's not so much iPhoneography, but it is, I guess, because that's what it's about. If I wanted to say a material thing like that I've got to highlight my year, it would have to be that Struman macro lens. That just changed the game for me for doing the macro photography. And I just, I had it out yesterday. Even this time of year, there's not a lot to get pictures of as far as I'm concerned. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but we got no snow. Well, we got like this much snow, and it's not really great winter photography weather. But as we'll see later in the show here, I was able to get that little lens out yesterday and use it. So, because I love macro photography so much, I was able to, take advantage of it and, use it again. And because macro, it could be done anytime, anywhere. So, I thought that was a pretty cool thing that happened for me this year. And so in the coming year, in like this year, 2022, I think for me, what I'm hoping is going to be the highlight will probably be my next upgrade. I'm on a 2-year cycle, so I didn't upgrade to the 13, so I'm hoping to get the 14. And if it's as good as what they say, like we talked about, when we talked about rumors and that, we talked about the 48 megapixel sensor, and with, even though it may be pixel binning, but I have real high hopes that it could be a really good sensor for taking photos.
Yeah.
Okay, so we weren't going to go there, but let's go there anyway, Dave. You said you heard you got an email with a quick little rumor about something. What was that again?
Sure. It was actually on the 15 for 2023. Right. And right now, I think, of course, average people, I consider us average people because we buy our phones. We don't buy every year because we don't get review units. We don't put out every year. We're closer to what most people use for their upgrade.
Yeah. Yeah. They're darn expensive.
yeah, exactly. Even if you trade it in, you're still, unless you're playing and you can save up, and it gets complicated. But even with all that, a lot of the analysts are already bored with 14. They're like, okay, that's coming out in only 9 months. We're done with it. We're moving on to the 15, even though I think the 14, like I said, possibly pixel bending to the 48 megapixel somewhat for the still camera, more for the video to go 8K, but also the front facing possibly on the Pro. These are both only Pro only. The non-Pro will be just like this one now. But you're looking at the punch hole, the hole punch is what they're calling for, like you see in some Samsung phones. But for the 15, having that, we talked about briefly here and there, the periscope zoom is what we're going to see. Yeah. So make it a true optical 10x, which would be really, really good. That'd be nice, because right now I've actually, the digital zoom is not bad. I imagine if you make it a 48 megapixel, it'll even be better, but nothing beats optical zoom. especially
Yeah,
a
that's right.
periscope where you don't have to make the f-stop massive like this 3x is compared to my old 2x, where then you have to bring in a whole bunch of computational stuff to make up for the fact you're bringing in less light. But there's no way around making the f-stop bigger because of physics, unless you make a bigger lens, which, this thing's already massive. And there's only, the camera, you can't really make the camera body bigger. Well, you could, but I don't think they will.
Yeah,
and Apple likes to make the 6.1. It seems like the non-Max and the Max to be the same. If you have a 13 Pro and this is the 13 Pro Max, there's no difference with the camera right now.
Right. The only difference really is the battery.
Right. And so if they want to do that, you can't make, if you put this in a 6.1 inch screen size, which I know sounds crazy being the small size for us olds, but there's only so much you can do. So I can see, that's why the periscope zoom would be a great thing if they can do it, which Samsung already does it. OnePlus already does it. But as a lot of people say, I'm kind of somewhat mirroring Rene Ritchie, but I also have a background in material management and logistics from a past job. Mm-hmm. Apple has to be able to say, we're going to produce 100 million phones in between, this date, in these 12 months, we have to make 100 million phones. Well, if Samsung wants to make 4 or 5 million of the periscope zoom, because still majority of their phones are not the highest of the high end, which that's their, economics and how they run their business, and they run their business pretty darn good. But Apple doesn't run it that way. Apple wants 100 million high-end phones. Well, they go to all the manufacturers, say, "Can you make this many?" And they'll say, "No."
Yeah,
there's not 100 million, machine spots and time in the day that it takes to make this. We can't, like probably Sony, we can't physically make that many of them yet. Maybe in 2-3 years we'll be able to. And Apple does have a history of saying, okay, we'll buy the machines and we'll give you the machines that will make the parts for us. So we'll give you the capacity, but it takes a couple of years for those machines. And that's best case scenario where there's no restrictions, there's no labor shortage, there's no material shortage. It still takes a couple of years to make the machines because you have to design the machines, make the machines, and then make the parts after making the machines. That's a couple of year process. People don't realize that. So for Apple to put out what they need to as quickly as they do, it's going to take a couple of years. So that's why I'm thinking not this year, not 2022, maybe 2023, we finally get that periscope zoom. Yeah.
And that's kind of why I wanted you to bring to bring all this into the conversation here about what I'm looking forward to. And I'm looking forward to, getting a new phone with hopefully, the 48 megapixel sensor. If they're going to do the pixel binning, I'm assuming they're going to probably do it right. Whether there's a right way or a wrong way, I don't know. But Samsung does a pretty darn good job of it. So the zoom thing, if they can make a really good 10 times optical zoom on the 2022 model, like the iPhone 14, that would be a real bonus. Because the favorite camera for me on my 12 Pro Max is the telephoto. I just like taking pictures with it. Probably better than any of the other ones. Unless I'm doing macro, then it's the normal one. But so that's what I'm looking forward to is getting the upgrade again. So new toy to play with. So anyway, so okay, we're into the new year. That's kind of what we've seen and what we're looking at. What you've seen though, and what I looked at was I saw it on your Instagram story, and I guess basically what I'm going to ask you to talk about now is a question of, is it okay it's okay if you're only a certain person or company type of thing. So before I make it myself sound kind of dumb with this, tell everybody what you kind of stumbled upon and what you experienced in this whole thing.
Sure. But let me preface this first before we get people streaming one way or the other. That Twitter, even though it is a US-based company, it is a private company. Being a private company means they can let or not let anyone on their platform they want. Or Instagram. I should say Instagram or Twitter, because I think Twitter's hitting it more. But same thing with Instagram. If Instagram wants to all of a sudden say, we're blocking you, David, because of reasons, they can do that. They are legitimately a private company. Just like if I write a newspaper, and say, dear letter to the editor, I don't blah, 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 or here's a photo and blah, 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 blah. They don't have to publish it. That's where I'm coming from. I mean, but my issue is, I know this is very hard, especially with the hundreds of millions, I'm sure, of photos get uploaded daily to Instagram, is to be consistent with it. And
with their censorship,
with their, yeah. Well, I'll say this. I don't like using the word censorship.
Okay.
Just because censorship is what the government does. This is a private company where they could just literally say, we are no longer taking photos from France. They could do that. It's perfectly in their rights to do that as a private company. They're not a public entity. They're not part of the government. They are completely private. So same thing with Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, TikTok. They own the platform and they're allowing us to use it. So again, that's why I wanted to be careful with my wording here. But I prefer that if they're going to be consistent, and these are not little companies that have no money and no resources. Instagram is part of Meta, after all, the parent company of Facebook. This is a multi-billion-dollar company with resources coming out, engineering talent, brilliant engineering talent behind the scenes, with the algorithms. These are not stupid people who are running. And I don't think these are generally malicious people who are the engineers at Facebook, without getting Zuckerberg into this, saying the engineers who write the code. I generally don't think they're malicious people, but I saw someone tweet saying, oh, apparently Instagram does not allow nudity, which again, they can do that. Just like Apple can say, we don't allow, porn apps on our app store, where Google could allow them. Again, but, if Instagram says no nudity, and someone said, well, here is Sotheby's, and showing off a famous, I never heard of it, but I'm not big into the art scene. A portrait of, now it's a naked woman. She is positioned in a way that her legs are crossed, so you don't see anything, in the crotch area. She's wearing a cat mask, laying down on her side, but she is nude. Okay. Now, I would say, as the U.S. Supreme Court said years ago, when they were asked to define pornography, I know it when I see it. This was not pornography. Okay. This was nude art. Okay. But someone said, you have people who Instagram cracks down on because there's a little nipple showing, but they allow this up. And I thought, let me try something. So I took a screenshot of their Instagram post. I cropped it, but I did not crop it only to the photo. I cropped it, including their header and all their hashtags down below. And I posted that to my Instagram. Within 30 minutes, it was removed. And I got a warning saying it went against the guidelines because of nudity. Now, I said, well, okay, I disagree with that because And of course, when you do the first disagree, all you can do is say, I disagree. You cannot say why. So I said, okay, nope, I think you're wrong with doing that. They came back and said, no, we weren't wrong. But if you want to, we will look at it again by humans with the oversight board. However, only a few amount of cases actually get up to the oversight board to even look at in the first place. And I said, okay, well, you know what, it's worth doing it. So I try to, hit the button. It says, okay, you have to be logged in. I say, okay, well, I use Facebook. When I created my Instagram years and years ago, I use Facebook sign in for Instagram instead of having a separate login. It's okay. I did that, and it was a giant pain. I couldn't get it. I literally couldn't get it to work. So after around 10 to 15 minutes of trying this, and of course, we're little nothings. We have no connections. That I said, you know what? They're not going to look at it anyway. It's not worth my effort. Also, I don't want to get kicked off of Instagram. You know, because it could happen. Literally, they could say, you know what? You're a troublemaker. You know what? We don't like it.
Yeah, they could put you in Instagram jail or whatever. Exactly.
So they either suspend me or they can just boot me out completely. So, but my problem is, it's not a matter of them. If I posted let's say I talked to a model, or just for and giggles, I decide to replicate that photo for myself. Okay. Hiding all the bits that they would find inappropriate, but replicating the photo. Or let's say I knew a model and had them exactly replicate the photo, and I posted it, and I would post it and then get in trouble. I posted their post. I didn't even, like I said, I didn't even post their photo. I posted their post, and their original post is still up. So obviously they don't have a problem, which I understand. If you're famous, if you're a large brand where Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whoever can make money off of you, you get special treatment. That's the world as it is, unfortunately. It just, as the thing goes, it just grinds my gears, because their reason to grind my gears was, without going into too much detail, I had a friend who, young lady, had stage 4 breast cancer. And she, to me, very bravely, was very open with it. She used it as a cheat, and she's still alive. I just want to say this is not going to be one of those sad stories where it's like, and then she, passed. She's still alive. She's cancer-free. She's thriving as best as she can. But she had a double mastectomy, and she had radiation and chemo treatment. This all started at the beginning of the pandemic too. So yeah, she was going through a lot, but she used her social media to say, hey, here's what it's like to go through these treatments. Oh, yeah, I just had
to get a message across.
Exactly. I had my surgery. Here's what my scar tissue looks like. Here's how they had to cut me here. Here's, after getting radiation, here's the radiation burns on my chest from the radiation. Here's how I feel with chemo. Here's how I lost all my hair because of the chemo. Here's it growing back. And when she had her reconstructive surgery, she had to be very careful and hide her nipple so Instagram would not pull her post immediately. So if she was like, well, hold on, let me show you what my scar looks like, and let me show you what this looks like, and let me show you, because you can see the scar here, and here's how it hurts, and here's how it feels, and here's what it was like to go through, which to me is a great educational tool. Because here is someone who is exceptionally well-spoken, talking to people like, here's what I went through, and here's what you may go through if you have to go through the same thing. That's great. That's educational. That's not pornographic. That's nothing she should have to worry about losing her Instagram or losing her Twitter or losing her Facebook because her hand may slip one time and you may see a nipple of a cancer patient and have it taken away, which is that to me, it's just the whole.
Yeah. So the whole point of it, like the whole message here is, Instagram needs to be fair to everybody, not just, let things slide for, like a verified account. And in this case, it was Sotheby's. Yeah. And, someone who's trying to educate people and tell her story and do it very discreetly, but honestly, she would be at risk, and it's just not right. No. So you said you reported the Sotheby's post, right?
Yeah, I was. This is partially out of frustration and partially out of frustration from, like I said, I was having trouble going for the next level, even logging in, trying. At that point, I was like, you know what? You obviously don't want to hear, because I'm a someone with a smallish, non-verified following on Instagram. Well, if you don't like what I posted and all I did was repost the original, obviously there's something wrong with that original. So I reported them as nudity. Mm-hmm. Now it hides it from me because I reported it, but I asked you early, just before we went in recording, and you said it's still there.
Yeah.
And I was, like I said, and honestly, as it by itself, as a piece of art, I have no problem with it. It's a, as a photo, you see a woman's nude form. Go to a museum. They're all over the place. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of the inconsistency and the algorithm. And again, if this was 10 years ago with Instagram as a little independent, little upstart that had very little engineering talent. I don't want to say little, but a lot less than it does now. Engineering talent.
Yeah, a lot less power behind them.
I could understand them being really jumpy and just shutting down anything, but they should be able to say, "Hey, this is the exact same image as this. This was okay. Since this is a copy, this one also should be okay." And it got taken down way too quick. For now, if they would have said we're taking you down because you're doing a copy, that's legitimate because it was a copy. Yeah. But to me, it was so quick that it had to be automated. There's no way that, or at least unless it was dumb luck, that's because I did this on the weekend, that someone at Sotheby's found it and said, "Hey, here's someone who copied a thing off of us. We're going to go report this because he got, that it was just so quick." It's one of those, it could happen, but I severely doubt it. I'm thinking it was more automated.
Yeah. It's such a catch-22. Like, but you know what? I've seen many times where people screenshot other people's posts or stories or whatever and post them on their own accounts. So, I mean, maybe it was just a glitch in the algorithm that theirs hasn't been taken down yet or whatever. I don't know. But, part of me wants to say that it's because they have a verified account, and I didn't look at their follower count to see how many followers they have on there. But, if they have a lot of followers, like let's just say, for example, 1 million, and somebody's scrolling through their feed, those ads that are displayed in their feed are getting all those eyeballs. Mm-hmm. Whereas someone like you or I, so not the case. I mean, right. It's just, I don't know.
Oh, just by the way,
Instagram is maddening.
Yeah. They have 1.5 million followers.
Yeah. See, though, it's I don't know. It's frustrating, and I can really see your frustration with it all too. And I don't know. I guess you could say it was a bit of a social experiment that you did.
Pretty much, yeah.
And I think the results are very clear and not very appealing, in my opinion, as far as for consumers or for users of the service or whatever. But anyway, well, we'll move on from that, and we'll get into
happier things.
Happier things, yeah. So, this year we're going to try to try some new things on the program. One of them is not really talk about what we've been up to lately, because that's just boring, but at least on my end. But what we'll talk about is what have we been shooting lately, because this is a photography show. So why not talk about pictures that we've been taking? And so, Dave, you had an unexpected, wonderful day off today.
Yes.
And you went to a, what was it, a science?
The Carnegie Science Center here in Pittsburgh.
Science Center, yeah, okay. So on that note, I'm going to share my screen, and we will take a look at some pictures that you took today.
Yeah, in the Carnegie Science Center is actually part of the Carnegie Museum group in Pittsburgh. They have 4 different museums. They have a natural history, they have modern art, the Science Center, and the Andy Warhol Museum.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So the first picture here is actually, it's on the north side of Pittsburgh. And this is a statue of Mr. Rogers. So,
okay.
So if you're of a certain age, you know Mr. Rogers. If you're younger, you probably know Daniel Tiger. And Mr. Roger was local to Pittsburgh, and the show was broadcast from Pittsburgh, from the local PBS station from Pittsburgh. And now, admittedly, not exactly where the statue was where they posted it, but to commemorate it, they did put a statue, and the statue actually looks over downtown. So the statue is him looking towards downtown, and as you're walking around here, you can they're actually playing clips of him. So you're hearing his voice as you're near the statue. So this is kind of me from behind looking towards downtown Pittsburgh. You can find it. It's one of our unique sunny days today, which was only sunny for a couple hours.
Long time.
Yeah. Well, no, it was cloudy in the morning and it was cloudy later in the afternoon. So just midday, it was a little sunny. It just, it just the way the sun hits it with the bridge there, the Fort Duquesne Bridge, and just the way it's balanced off. I just thought it just turned out to be a really nice image.
Yes. Yeah. I was just thinking that when, while you were talking about the balance of it. And if you were to title this image, you could probably call it, Mr. Rogers overlooking Pittsburgh, and because that's exactly what the statue is doing. It's looking right at the town. There's one of those wonderful yellow bridges, and I really like the way the clouds are situated in the sky. Like even the small one between the shoulder of the statue and that first tall building there's a little wee cloud just poke right into the center there. And, whether that was a happy accident that you situated it this way or not, but it's a really cool photo.
I wish I could take credit for it. I wish I could take credit for it, but that was a happy accident.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, hey, it just goes to show you that happy accidents are amazing at times. So this one here, it looks like an old warship of some sort.
Yeah. So as part of the Science Center, now it's closed for the winter because even though it was cold, but it was still a nice day. You can't be sure what days, we could, because I know just south of us, which is weird, further south, like in Virginia, they're getting 8 inches of snow.
Oh, wow.
So they're getting slammed. So you're never quite sure. Winter could be beautiful sunny. Winter could be sleety. So this is shut down, but this has been there since the Science Center has been open in 90. It's the USS Rankin, which is a World War II era submarine.
Oh, okay.
And when it's open, you're able to actually get on, go underneath, and actually walk from one end to the other and actually see how they lived.
That would be cool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Including where because, of course, we're talking a very old submarine, right? At the time, pre-nuclear submarine.
Mm-hmm.
You had to stack things so much that you slept on top of the torpedoes.
Oh, nice.
So torpedo was here. Your bunk was right above the torpedo because you had to squeeze people. Yeah. So and I've done it when it was open. It is a great tour where you kind of walk on the deck, you walk down, kind of work your way through and walk out the back. And I just like the way the sun was right there. And I did do the first shot. I did almost no editing of downtown. This one did take a good amount of editing, to get rid of a couple of things that were kind of in the way, like warning signs that I used retouch to get rid of. But also because you're literally, we're kind of looking right at the sun here, midday. The submarine was very shadowed. So I had to do some boosting of shadows and taking down some highlights to actually be able to see everything going on.
It looks so natural, though.
Yeah. My edits, I did everything in the Photos app.
Okay, yeah.
So I did not use Polar, which is my one of choice, or Snapseed, or anything else. This was just taken with the built-in camera, edited in the Photos app.
Yeah. What I like about the finished product is the way the water reflects on the side of the submarine, which is kind of cool. Yeah. That's awesome. Now this one, let me guess, is this supposed to be Frank Lloyd Wright's?
It is. That's Falling Water. That's Falling
Waters, yes.
Yeah.
I thought
because
so. Okay.
Part of the thing with the miniature railroad, they take scenes, not necessarily keeping time, not everything is time correct, but scenes from around the area. And Falling Water is not too far away from Pittsburgh. So they recreated this. And actually, if you look on the bottom left, that's a figurine of Frank Lloyd Wright that someone created.
I just noticed that. Yeah. Okay.
I actually had someone point that out to me. And for this one, and this is a little bit of patience because I had to wait for the train on the upper left to come into frame.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted a train in frame as it's doing this.
Yeah. But so did that track go down and be just behind the building?
It goes just behind. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Now this one I did boost the color a little bit more to give it a little more punch. So this is a little bit unnatural with how colorful it is. But I wanted that extra punch though. I want that extra punch here though.
Yeah, it makes the fall colors really pop. Yeah. That's cool. And I thought this was interesting.
Yeah, this is another scene where, and the thing is, this is again part of.
You know what, Dave? Dave, I'm just going to pause it for 1 second here.
Sure.
Let's go back to the Falling Waters, and just tell people that are just listening what kind of a scale we're looking at here. We're looking at miniature stuff, but it's just how small was it?
Yeah, let me actually get to now. Because I actually have the information here. Everything is built, if you know what railroad scale is, to O scale, which I don't know what exactly that is per se. But hold on, I kind of lost you here, Greg. Hold on. I need to switch to something else, and where'd you go? Sorry, podcast listeners. That's not what I wanted. Not what I wanted.
So I would like to just say that when you're listening to the show on the Apple Podcast app, you will be able to see these pictures as we're talking about them.
There we go. Okay, just because of the way it went full screen, I do apologize. But yeah, this is actually a pretty good size replica. I see the figurines maybe a couple inches tall.
Okay.
The thing to remember is the buildings are also the same scale as the railroad.
Okay,
So
that's good.
so they keep everything to scale. And with the miniature railroad here, all these are hand done, including the
Wow.
trees. So all these trees, and I think I read there's like 250,000 individual trees on the entire setup. They're all
Holy.
hand. Yeah, they don't buy like, from a pack and put trees in. All this is all hand done. The falling water was done by hand and set up with scale with how it was built. And if you look at old pictures of the actual falling water,
Mm-hmm.
it looks just like this. I mean, it
Wow.
is exactly looking like this, which is just, yeah. And like I said, it's the little details.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
And
neat.
yeah, and like this is part of the extra little details. What you're seeing inside of the general store are actually figurines.
Oh, wow.
So that isn't a picture. That's
Mm-hmm.
actually, they built a miniature model of a general store inside the general store.
And it looks like it's like 19th century or.
Yeah. Generally, they try to keep the miniature railroad, they said between like 1880 to 1930. So like
Okay.
Industrial Revolution, Gilded Age, Roaring 20s, right to the beginning of the Depression. So you have like if you look on the right, you have the bread delivery truck.
Yeah.
On the right there.
Mm-hmm.
But you still have it mixed in with horse and carriage, like it would be in the early 1900s, where not everyone's transferred over to motorized vehicles. And there are still places where you have a general store and post office.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'll say this is set up, a lot of the railroad itself is set up at kid height. So if you're looking at it from normal, 5 foot to the 5'10", 6 foot tall adult, you're going to miss these details. So one thing is I had to go to crouch down like I was a baseball catcher to get this photo, to get it right on this level.
Yeah.
The other thing is that one thing they do with the miniature railroad, they alternate light and dark. So they have scenes where it's daylight. They have daylight for 4 minutes and then nighttime for 4 minutes.
Oh, really?
So you have a different view of what's going on. So you can
is this a night mode shot?
This is, I don't know if it's night mode, but it is this was a darker scene.
Okay.
This was a darker scene. That's why it's a little bit, and also I had to zoom in a little bit because you can't get like right on it, obviously.
Yeah.
You have to keep your distance. So I had to zoom in, but it was still able to get a pretty good shot of what was going on there. And like I said, just the little detail that you don't get if you're standing up straight. You just wouldn't notice it.
How did the camera do with the color temperature of the outdoor part of it? Looks obviously good, but was the inside?
It was yellow light.
It was yellowy like that, so it really kind of nailed it then. Yeah,
because they tried to make the lighting match what lighting would have been back then.
Right.
So it would have been more of a yellowy light versus like an LED bright light.
Yeah. Well, that's really thinking of details. That is.
Oh,
that's really
it's cool. It's incredible. Like I said, all these figurines are all hand done also.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. So how big was the display, altogether?
Sure. Let me actually hold on. No, you know what? I looked this up beforehand. Let me see if I lost it or not. Nope, I got it here. It is. Hold on. Had it here, guy. It is 83 feet long by 30 feet wide.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah. There's and there are animations like there's someone getting a bath outside in a tub.
Oh, really?
Someone on a swing. Someone using a stick to hit a rug hung from a tree.
Oh, yeah.
So there's 100 different little animations sprinkled along here.
Wow. That's crazy.
There's 1,500 feet of track altogether.
Wow.
So it's incredibly detailed. It's one of those things you cannot zoom through this to get a proper look.
So you probably spent like a good hour.
Yeah,
I'm guessing.
yeah,
display.
half hour. Yeah, probably around half hour, 45 minutes. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Wow.
lots of little details on here,
That's cool.
including, and this actually was something close to Pittsburgh, um, just southeast of here. The Laurel Highlands are part of the Appalachian Mountains, and I'm not sure when this building came down, but as this is before the interstate highways, obviously, when you only had the small, like of course, most famous one's Route 66.
Yeah.
The little US routes, our routes 2230. That kind of went from Pittsburgh east, or from the east to Pittsburgh. And someone decided to make a hotel shaped like a ship.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of. I thought it was a boat sitting at this, but then obviously it's not in the water. So
so, and you can see that this is what it actually looked like. And they said because it was on the hill overlooking, you could see 3 states and 7 counties. You could see Pennsylvania, like Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Maryland, because you're on top of the hill, kind of looking down at the very edge of it. And unfortunately, it did come down, I want to say, in the 60s or 70s. Just people started to take the interstates. No one was using the back roads, mainly because of time.
Right.
Why? Because Pittsburgh to Philly, instead of taking 4 hours, if you went all the back roads, would take like a half a day, literally 12 hours.
Yeah.
So a lot of these little attractions just didn't survive, even though I think stuff like this could make a comeback now.
Yeah.
Possibly could.
It just seems like what's old is new again.
Exactly.
But yeah,
and people seeing a little quirkiness now instead of just trying to go as quickly as they could.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to see that they've got, a model like this built to, keep the history of it going.
Yeah.
And people can learn about it.
Yeah. One other thing to notice real quick, where the earlier scene was more like a fall scene or spring scene.
Oh, yeah.
This is winter. So each quadrant has a different season. Yeah. So there's a winter area, there's a spring, a summer, a fall season.
Yeah. Well, that's neat.
Oh, yeah. It is something definitely to see. It is something definitely to see.
Well, folks, if you're in the Pittsburgh area, go have a look. Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't even dawn on me when I was looking at these about the different seasons. I don't know. I was just kind of taken aback at how well they were done, and and how well the camera did with capturing these too, because you can see in this particular image. Okay, well the foreground is obviously almost like it's in daylight, but because the lights are on, I'm assuming it's like almost like a dark. Maybe a dusk or whatever. But then if you look further in the background, you can see a building back there with outdoor lights on. And, it's darker back there. So that's cool. I would have paid to go in and see that myself. That's neat.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that's 5 from you. So we'll go 5 from me here. Excuse me. Again, it's not wonderful wintry photography here yet, but we did have a point where we had like a couple of inches of snow. And for this image, it's an image of a brick building with a green door and some leaves from the fall draped across the ground on the bottom. And then, of course, snow on the ground. And this was, we always like to take our dog up to the local cemetery because it's nice and quiet, and a lot of people walk their dogs up there and whatnot. And there's a building there. I'm not sure if it's just like a storage building or what, but it has this green door on it. And I don't know, something just told me I got to take a picture of this. The door's got a lock on it, so you can't get in or anything, but I just kind of like the way the leaves were draped across the bottom of the door, and it obviously just screams that it hasn't been open for quite some time. So,
and I like the weathered look too. On the boards, you
yeah,
actually can pick up where, like right above the board that goes right above where the door handle is, you can see it's cracked in half there in the middle.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's been the door, like you said, the door's been there for a long time. It's seen a lot of weathering.
yeah,
You can see where the paint's already starting to go, where it's a little bit lighter on the edges there. Like it's seen the wind, it's seen the rain, the snow,
yeah,
the melt, and everything hitting it.
yeah. That's right. Yeah, I never noticed that about those panels at the door that they're cracked. There's two of them, I guess, that are cracked right in half. But yeah, it's definitely been. I honestly couldn't tell you when the last time that door would have been open, but I'll bet you it's been quite a few years. So this next one, I was out walking the dog just in the neighborhood here, and the the sunset was glowing in a nice bright orange, and it was tonight too, and I missed it. I didn't get a chance to see any of it, but I looked out to the sky, and it was just glowing, like it was just like it was on fire. But this one here, like the wispy clouds that you see were moving fairly quickly, and the more solid batches of clouds not so quickly. So it kind of had a pretty interesting feel to it, which obviously you can't tell by looking at the picture, but it has all these different layers where you've got, white and gray clouds, but then you've got some color thrown in, just I guess just the way the sun was plowing through the clouds. But and then of course I try not to get houses around the neighborhood in the pictures, because I just want to get, maybe just some treetops, but the clouds are the centerpiece of the picture. So the sky in the background was a little blue, but I just couldn't get that to come out in the photo. So but yeah, I just thought the colors were really really vibrant on it, which I did boost them a little bit because the camera just didn't do it any justice. So I did actually saturate the sky a little bit. And I did this one I did this one and the last one, I did them in Pixelmator Photo. So it was nice to be able to just isolate one color and kind of saturate it a bit. And then the next one is, of course, my favorite waterfall in the area, a place called Inglis Falls. And this was on New Year's Day. It was fairly cold. But if I go to this place, of course, we took the dog for a walk. That's what our purpose was. But I can't stop at this place and not take a picture of the falls. This one here, I use Spectre, and there's a tree at the top of the frame that was blowing in the wind quite a bit, and there's a lot of brush that have lost their leaves throughout the bottom right of the frame, where I guess they were a lot more sturdy, and they were, the wind didn't really blow them around too much. So that was 3 seconds in Spectre, and this one again was in Pixelmator Photo. The only thing I did outside of Pixelmator Photo was on the Mac, when I was getting these ready to show, I thought, well, I'd like to bring a little more detail out in the bottom left, or the left side of the frame, where the cascades are fairly small and you can see some of the rock. I moved the definition slider up a little bit just to emphasize some of the without kind of making it a little more contrasty, but without putting too much contrast into the whole picture. It kind of just picks out those finer spots. And I don't know. I just love this place. It's one of my favorite places to shoot around here. And then, of course, this is our dog, Hannah. I was sitting at my desk here, where I'm sitting now, and my 12 Pro Max was charging, so my 10S Max was sitting on the desk, and just the way she was sitting there, I tried to get her with her teeth showing in her smile, or where her mouth is, or her lip. And by the time I got the camera, the phone down with the camera on, she had, licked her lips or whatever and had closed her mouth. But I was hoping to get her actually with a look that she was smiling. But she's just a little sweetheart, and she's almost 10 years old. But I thought, well, this is something I took recently, so this was actually yesterday, and she's just a real sweetheart. And I'm sure, Dave, you can relate. You've got 2 dogs and two dogs, 2 cats.
2 dogs, 2 cats. Yeah, and that is such a precious face.
She's getting her hair trimmed or whatever on Saturday. So we generally don't like to have her snout with so much hair on it, but yeah, she's a cutie. And this is what I said earlier about the Struman macro. We again walking the dog. This was on New Year's Day again, and we went to another place where there's like a grove of trees with all these different species, and they're all labeled. Now, some of the labels have come off of them due to weather and whatnot, but so I don't remember what kind of tree this was. But when I got looking at the bark, there's these little clumps of green on there that I don't know if they would eventually become like branches or whatever over time. But there's all these, and this little clump that you see on the screen or on your or on the video was really no bigger than like the eraser of a pencil. It's so small, and I just got in close with the Struman lens and snapped it. And as far as editing goes, I didn't do too much with this one. Just boost the saturation a little bit and contrast and whatnot. It was an overcast day, so I didn't have to worry about harsh shadows. So, but that's about it. I think that's the last one. Yeah. So there you have it, folks.
I wasn't expecting it to be that small, to be honest.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Just because of the detail, and of course, like you said, when you get in the macro, you lose all sense of scale. I thought it'd be closer to like a quarter or a coin size than that teeny tiny.
Yeah. See, that's what I like about macro is that you've got it's something like a whole new world. And I'm sure you've seen this with your 13 Pro with the macro mode. You're able to get in so close and so tight to a subject that you can make it look so big. And I don't know, I'm just having a lot of fun with it. But well, that's what we've been up to lately with our iPhone cameras. And I think it'd be kind of cool to make this a regular part of the show. I don't think we'll go 5 photos every week. But
I'll take the blame for that. I'll take the blame for that. And then partially because not only did I want to hit the railroad exhibit, but also at the Science Center they had an exhibit on Pompeii with actual artifacts they dug up.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So actual 2,000-year-old pieces of artifacts and a giant exhibit there too. So I think I got around 200 photos today altogether.
And I thought I hit the jackpot of, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. A museum in a town about half an hour away from here had a display on with Titanic relics. So there was like a deck chair and things like that. So I got a few pictures of those things. And but wow, to see stuff from Pompeii, that would be cool. So you'll be posting those at some point, I hope. Right. Yeah.
Actually, I did put I used the memory movie feature and posted. It came around 2 minutes long on the various social medias. A little movie I put together, but the Pompeii photos, because they had their light very low, because obviously no flash was allowed. And that I understand it completely, because these are very delicate pieces. That they're a little bit darker, and I have to where the railroad I was able to get with minimal editing, and honestly, a lot of times when it was the daylight shot, no editing, because the camera was able to do a good enough job. But really dark things that were a little bit faded and kind of hard to see, I want to do a little editing before I actually publish anything too much on that.
Yeah. Okay, well, that makes sense. Yeah, well, that's cool. Well, I think we got ourselves a show, Dave.
Most definitely.
First show of the year went off without pretty much any hitch. So I guess we can tell the folks where they can find you.
Sure. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter as ProfPod. You can actually, because this is something I'm starting, because I'm like every other old person. You got to start. I just want to make sure I have the right thing here. On TikTok, don't post a lot, but I am on the TikTok.
Oh, no.
As Dave Podner Jr. So I am on the TikTok for that. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I'm not on TikTok. So if you could send me a link to put in the show notes, that way people could find you that way. Yeah, okay, well, that's cool. So you can find me at Instagram, McMillan Photo, Twitter, McMillan_photo, Looped. I forget what the URL is exactly, but I'll put it in the show notes. All it is my digital identity or whatever, online profile type of thing. And if you want to find everything that I could think of that I've got online, it's at about.me/McMillan. So, we do the show every couple of weeks, as long as life doesn't get in the way. And the podcast lives at, it's on anchor.fm/iPhoneography. But the podcast website is iPhoneography.ca. And so actually, before we go here, Dave, I just wanted to kind of talk for a minute about the Artful iPhoneography community. It's on MeWe, and it's not overly active. So I was kind of debating on whether to keep it going or not. And what I've done is I put a poll on there, and most of the people, 80% of the people that have responded so far, want to keep the thing going, because that was the choice: is do we keep this going, or do we just kind of shut it down and put it to bed? But more people want to keep it going than they do want to shut it down. So, and there's been some pretty good comments about, maybe what we could do to kind of spice things up a bit with it. And one of those things was to hold a Zoom call where we can, anybody that wants to or can at the time, get together and get on Zoom. Like Dave and I are on Zoom right now with this podcast. But it won't be recorded. I want to stress that. It will not be recording a Zoom call if we do it on the community thing. But it would just be a place where we can get together, talk some shop, and maybe talk about photos like Dave and I did here tonight. Maybe if somebody wants to critique, we can do a critique of a photo. And kind of highlight some of this stuff on the community. Like people can go on and talk about what they learned, or just different things like that. So that's definitely something I'm going to consider looking at doing, because Dave knows just as well as I do. We could sit here and talk about this stuff all day. But anyway, so I just wanted to get that in too before we hit the stop button here. But so yeah, the Artful tongue-tied. The Artful iPhoneography community lives at artfulipc.club, and that'll take you directly to the MeWe page where everything is. And I try to put weekly challenges on and things like that. And I've got my problem is I've got myself in too many things at once. So one of the things I'm going to do for this year is trim down where I'm spending all my time. And that's kind of another reason why I put the poll on there, is do we want to keep it going or not? If people really want to keep it going, then I'll keep it going. And I'm kind of excited about the whole idea of getting together on Zoom and just talking shop. Because sometimes, Dave, like we get together with Mark and Joe and Matt Hoffman and the old tiny shutter crew, and sometimes we'll just sit there and shoot the breeze, like just to see what we've been up to. And I tell you, we can spend an hour and a half, 2 hours on there, and it goes by so fast. And it's great.
It's a nice way to unplug too, because then you're not like, oh, I have this particular thing I have to do. It's just relaxing.
That's right. Yeah. And it's a great way to get to know other people too. Like this whole Zoom idea. There was a Zoom call that we did. I'm not sure if you were on there, Dave, or not. We had Jeff Feeney on. Were you in that call? It was just a nonchalant Zoom call that we did. It was about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago.
I don't remember that. No,
I can't remember who all was on there. But anyway, we just got on there and just shot the breeze about photography, and the conversation can go this way, that way. We talk about the weather, who knows what else. But I think it's a great way to unwind and just kind of get away from the daily grind and like you say, Dave, just unplug and just enjoy some chat with some like-minded people. And so that's something I'm going to look at doing. And the more I talk about it right now, the more I want to do it. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that too. So check out the YouTube channel. Just look for the iPhoneography podcast on there, and you'll see all the videos that we've done. I've got a best of video that we put together for last week. And sorry about the audio. My narrations were apparently coming out of one side, just like the left side, I think it was. And I didn't want to bother going through and fixing it. But when I recorded it, it looked like it was recording in stereo. But when I put it together in DaVinci Resolve, it just came through and on the one side. But then the content that we replayed, it was in stereo. So anyway, apologies for the audio on that one. So I guess that's about it. Dave, I think we got ourselves a show finally.
Sounds great. Have a great night, everyone.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see you in the next one.
Okay.
And if we get a blooper, we get a blooper. I'm just going to wing it, just like any other time. If we get a blooper, we get a blooper. Yeah. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Hey, everyone. Okay, let me think. Actually, I did have something set up for your Instagram thing. In my mind, that is. And I think that was it.
Looking back, looking forward, rumors, the Instagram, and our photos.
Do you want to try it? You're welcome to try it if you want.
Yeah, let me give it a try.
Okay.